Are you tired of thinking about drinking, trying to control it, and ending up in the same loop? I know that feeling well. Okay, that's what this is about today. Before we begin, I want to invite you to join me for a free live workshop this summer. If you've read the books, listened to the podcast, taken breaks, and still find yourself having the same conversation with yourself about drinking, this workshop is for you. It's a series of workshops. They're all free, and I'm going to help you understand why knowing what to do hasn't been enough to create lasting change, where the stop-start pattern keeps breaking down, and what you can begin practicing differently. This is not another hour of information to save and never use. You'll leave knowing what your next step is and how support can make this process feel a whole lot less overwhelming. You can find all of the workshop details and reserve your free seat through the link in the show notes, okay? I cannot wait to meet you. I hope to see you there. Welcome to the Feel Good Alcohol-Free podcast, where high-achieving women learn how to step out of the stop-start cycle and build a life that feels calm, clear, and alcohol-free on purpose. I am your host, Lindsay. I am an accredited sober coach and former high-functioning drinker. After more than a decade of drinking every night while keeping up a big career and a life that looked really amazing from the outside, I rebuilt my identity from the inside out. Now I help women stop negotiating with themselves and trust their own decisions again. This is not a podcast full of cliches or willpower pep talks. You're getting real conversations, lived experience, coaching, and practical tools that you can use inside your actual life, not perfect conditions. So take a breath. You're here because you're ready to feel good in your real life. Let's get started. Welcome back. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be recording this episode today because I'm going to get a little vulnerable with you, of course, and I want to talk about this feeling of stuckness. I will say that I never in my life have I felt more stuck than when it came to desire to not wake up feeling like crap anymore from drinking, and this lack of confidence and worry and angst that used to flow through my body anytime I actually thought about the reality of quitting drinking. And so I want to talk today about the things that we tell ourselves when we're going to deal with our drinking. And for me, this often started with, I will deal with my drinking after the next vacation, or I'm going to take care of this in January, or when in September, I'm going to get serious about this. After that wedding that we have in the fall, after summer, or, once things start to settle down. So if you are realizing that you've been saying this or some version of it for a very long time, I see you. I was you. And I did this, and I want to explain a little bit why we do this. It's because waiting sounds very reasonable. Just like in the afternoons when we justify, oh, I'm just going to have one glass. It sounds very reasonable because we have a lot of reasons to back it up. It's like you have plans. Other people will be drinking. You don't want to make it feel awkward. You don't want to spend your summer thinking about whether or not you're allowed to drink. So you tell yourself, I'll just enjoy summer and then I'm really going to focus on this. Or I'm just going to get through the holidays and then I'm really going to focus on this. But I really want you to look honestly at what happens when you make that decision and when you keep telling yourself this. Did you or will you or do you actually enjoy the summer? Or do you spend part of it thinking about drinking, trying to control your drinking, recovering from drinking, and promising yourself you'll change later? Because this was really what I was doing all the time. I literally kicked the can on this for years, actual years. If you're new here, a little bit more about me is that I actually went to an AA meeting back in 2013. I had some coworkers who were very open about the fact that they went to AA, and I reached out to one of them and we met and talked, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to try this. And after that, I never went back, which is the other part of my story, but that's a whole other subject. But I never went back. And That was 2013. It wasn't until 2018, the end of 2018, that I categorized that time frame, November of 2018, of when I really got serious about it. I started to open my mind a little bit more to becoming alcohol free. I started to do more research. I started to look at what the health impacts were to my body. And so we're talking about this 5-year time frame where I was trying to moderate, thinking about my drinking, kicking the can on taking a break. And so I understand the fantasy that there will eventually be a better time to, I know that. I used to crave like a quieter month where there was less on the calendar, a season of the year where there were fewer plans, or this version of life where nobody's ever offering you wine and nothing stressful ever happens. I wanted that. I dreamt about it. And so, but here's what would happen. Every time I had a new, I'll start Monday attitude, then that week something would happen. So we have to practice not drinking in these real life moments, because the reality is that life absolutely never settles down, because it's not even about the bigger things, is what I really realized here. It's not about, oh, I've got this wedding coming up, or it's summer, or it's patio season, or whatever. It's really not about that. It's also about the really crappy Tuesday where you were in back-to-back meetings and you didn't get the budget approval that you've been fighting for, that your team needs to deliver on work. It is the Tuesday where you had to let an employee go and you don't know how to deal with that. That is the thing that's going to also get in your way. So this is what I mean, where we use these bigger events as this like logic to not like do something about this, but the everyday stuff is also bogging you down. And I really think about my first alcohol-free vacation, and I was sober for quite some time at that point, only because of the pandemic. We hadn't gotten on any airplanes in a while, but it was a ski trip. And at first, I've talked about this before, but it's definitely been a while. I remember when my husband and I were planning it, we were going to, it was a trip to Colorado, and we were also going to couple it with just spending a couple of days with my mom and then 5 or 6 days at the mountain. And we got a condo and everything. And as we were planning it, my husband said, should we make this like a friend's trip? Do we want to invite people? And I remember thinking like immediately, oh my God, that's going to ruin me. Like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. And then after I really let his comments soak in and I processed it for a couple of days, I could do this. I'm actually not afraid of going on vacation with friends. And I've been around my friends enough they all knew that I hadn't been drinking. And I've been around them enough where they had been drinking. I had tested my boundaries. I had created I'm leaving now type rhetoric when it wasn't my scene anymore. We often say like, well, what if I don't like my friends? Or, what if I don't like doing these things? Well, that's okay. Quitting drinking is more of a self-discovery journey than it is anything else, because you're learning what you like, what you don't like. And as you're figuring that out, you're also learning, okay, but how do I want to start telling people I don't like this? I used to be the one more round girl. How do I start telling my friends like at 8 o'clock, hey, tonight was fun, but I'll see you later? They're not used to seeing this new version of you, and that's okay. We're growing. And so when I think about my first sober trip, this ski trip, and I was nervous, and I ultimately told my husband, no, I really just want this to be the two of us. Plus it was the first time we were traveling, and COVID was still happening. And we went, and it was the best vacation I have ever taken as an adult. My husband and I spent just the whole totally present with each other. I wasn't distracted. I wasn't spending the morning on the mountain thinking about, gosh, is it lunchtime yet? I really just want to get a beer and have lunch or whatever. I wasn't preoccupied with that. When we're thinking about our drinking, we're just so preoccupied by it that we don't get to be present. And it was such a good trip. I got to be there for my mom and I helped her out for a couple of days. And then we went to the mountain. We were at the lift line before the lift started running every morning, and we would ski for 4 or 5 hours. We would go back to our room and have lunch or go out to lunch, and we would play games. We would lounge around in our condo, and it was just the best vacation ever. And I came home feeling ridiculously proud of myself that I had just gone on this ski trip and not drank. But also, I came home ready to go back to work. I was actually refreshed and felt rejuvenated after taking time off. I didn't come home thinking, oh my gosh, I need a vacation from my vacation. And this is really the difference. And if I had just kept waiting for my calendar to clear, I never would have been able to experience that vacation or any of the others that I've had since then, because life is never going to clear the calendar and formally announce, okay, Lindsay, now would be an easy time to change your relationship with alcohol. If you're waiting for that invitation, it simply isn't going to happen. And I say this with so much love because I went through it and I know exactly how it feels to be, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. But I know that I hate how I feel right now. And so I want you to imagine, how would it feel if you had help? How would it feel if I was walking through this journey with you and I was teaching you everything that I know about quitting drinking and exactly what to do when, and held your hand the entire time? So think about what that might look like, because you know you've got the summer trip coming up, you know you've got the wedding in September, or you know the big work trip, all of these things that are never going to go away. And this is why we're not going to find that easy time to change our relationship with alcohol. Just like I had to, you have to learn how to do this inside your actual life. That's what's going to get you there. Okay, I want to walk through a few points on this topic that is going to explain why this continues to always sound so logical. So when you say that you're going to start after summer, you get immediate relief. When we say, oh, I'm going to start this next week, or I'm going to start this next month, in that moment, you get immediate relief. You don't have to decide anything today. You don't have to imagine a barbecue without drinking. You don't have to risk trying and discovering that it feels uncomfortable, because by the way, you know it does. I have already said approximately 9,000 times that the only way that you will be able to quit drinking is if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is the other thing that I really help that make it feel a lot easier to do, because I don't know, I'm kind of a pro at being uncomfortable. I am fine in literally any situation. Something that one of my mentors and former bosses said to me when I was in my early 30s, and I had just gotten a big promotion and I was leading a large new team. And he said, Lindsay, the secret to your success here is that you get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that has just like stuck with me. I carry that with me all the time. I say it to myself often. Lindsay, you are good at being uncomfortable. Just go do it. And this was something that those words from him literally changed my life, if I'm being completely honest. So, okay. The relief that we feel when we postpone this feels like the right decision, can make it feel the right decision. And relief and alignment are not the same thing. And what I mean by that is right now you have a version of yourself that you want to be. Maybe you don't know all of the details yet, which is also something that I help you figure out. But you have this feeling that you know you want. You probably say to yourself, God, I just want to feel calm. I just want to feel healthy. I want to feel I am present with my family, and I want to feel ease, a sense of ease. But then we have our actions that don't match up with us getting that feeling. And that's what's really difficult here, because we're going after that instant relief, but relief and alignment, and by alignment, I mean our actions lining up to get us what we want, those aren't the same thing. And sometimes postponing simply removes the pressure for right now and today while extending the problem. That's what we're doing. Whenever we say, I'm going to wait, we are just procrastinating on literally having everything that we want. So I can't even tell you how many clients I worked with before, and I follow them on Instagram now or something, or they send me a little life update and I'm like, that is everything you told me that you wanted in our first session. I had a client about a year ago who she lived in an apartment and it was in a busy area in a city, and I want to live in a house with land and space. I am so tired of living in the city. And at the time, she had some debt that she was dealing with, and she desperately wanted to quit drinking because she wanted a clear head. And it was just a few weeks ago, I saw in her Instagram stories, her and her dog moved, and she was doing a little view of her new house and how happy they were. And it was the most beautiful thing. And I sent her a message and I was like, this is exactly what you told me you wanted in our first session. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you remembered that. And I was just, of course, because I get so invested in my client's journey. I just really want that success. And when you really focus on what you want, your success is inevitable. And I want you to know, when we kick the can on this or when we postpone working on this, you're not really avoiding adding complexity to your life. Because a lot of women who reach out to me, they'll say, I don't want to add the complexity of quitting to this big thing I have going on in my life, or to my summer, or I've got so much going on at work. I don't want to add another thing to focus on. And I completely understand that because I did that too. And it sounds very logical. But what I want you to consider is how much complexity drinking is already adding to your life. Because it's not just about having the drink at the social event or the cookout or the family vacation. It's deciding whether you'll drink. It's thinking about how much you'll drink. It's watching other people and saying, oh my gosh, am I drinking faster than them? I'm going to wait 90 seconds until I take another sip. It's thinking about whether you drank too much, whether other people notice how much you're drinking, whether you should skip tonight because you drank the last 5 or 6 days, whether you'll feel well enough for the plans that you have tomorrow. That is not simple. That is complex. And you're already doing a tremendous amount of mental work. It just happens to be very familiar to you. You're so used to managing your alcohol that is on autopilot. And we almost forget how much mental capacity it takes up. And so here's the thing I want you to keep in mind. You don't have to master the rest of summer today. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to focus on this and I'm going to quit drinking tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. You're actually already quitting drinking because you're listening to this podcast. You're probably actively, trying to take breaks from drinking. You're already doing it. It's not, I'm quitting drinking and then you never drink again. You are literally in the process right now of quitting drinking. It's about always kind of leveling up to push yourself to get further. Because the answer here is not to stare at every single event that you have on your calendar and panic about how you'll get through all of them without drinking. That is not the answer. That's your brain trying to solve a very specific thing while you're still in another thing. That's your brain looking at August when you're still in the middle of July here. And so you can begin with an evening. You can begin with going out to dinner with your husband and not drinking, spending one weekend without drinking, one trip, one decision that shows you, oh yeah, I can do this. This is possible. That is how you build self-trust. It's not about waiting until you feel completely ready, but by practicing a new response and collecting evidence that you can handle it. This is so much about building self-trust. So I often break this down. My methodology through this is around your identity, practicing, and then building self-trust. We always want the self-trust first, but it just doesn't work that way. We want to wake up and be confident that we can do that, but we have to go backwards. We have to start with what it is we really want. How do we want to be living? Who do I want to become? That's that identity piece. And a lot of that is going to be wrapped up with how you want to feel. That's how I started this. I don't exactly know what my life looks like, but I know that I want to feel confident. I know that I want to wake up every day with a clear head. And I know that I want to be present in my relationships. And I know that I want to crush it at work. I'm tired of dragging myself to work all the time. And so notice how a lot of what I'm describing for my identity was really how I wanted to feel. And then once you get that clarity and you start to feel that way, then you get to switch into this self-discovery thing and you get to be picky. You get to say, no, I don't want to go to the social event, or no, I don't want to close down the bar. I want to go and have dinner and talk with my friends and enjoy a non-alcoholic beer, or maybe they have a nice Prosecco on the menu. And then I want to go home. I want to be in bed by 9 or 10. You get to discover what it is that you want to do, what you're doing now, and why maybe you're drinking to tolerate those things. And you get to learn how to start setting boundaries so that you're protecting yourself. This is that practice. That is practicing being in training for your alcohol-free life in the field, going to the wedding, acting an observer, really noticing yourself and others. And gosh, how do I want to behave? How do I want to be showing up around alcohol? That's the practice piece. It's also the piece that takes the longest, because remember, alcohol touches so many different layers of our lives that we have to practice in all of those layers. So it takes time, and it takes showing up for yourself, and it takes having compassion when it feels really hard. So now, once you start doing those things, once you go on date night with your husband and you don't drink, self-trust is born. Self-trust is building, it's growing. It's, hell yeah, I just went out to dinner on a Friday night, didn't drink, and now my husband and I are home and we're gonna watch a movie, and then I'm gonna go to bed by 10:30 on a Friday night, and I'm gonna wake up feeling so effing good tomorrow. Yes, confidence, self-trust, all of those little actions. We have a wedding. I am gonna spend some time planning exactly how I'm gonna show up around alcohol, what I'm gonna drink, what I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna focus on how I wanna feel. Boom, confidence. You feel better. You know you can do it. You've done the wedding. So it's focusing on who you want to be, practicing it over and over. And then that self-trust, it shows up for you every single day. And it's what's going to really make you turn this whole thing around. So you have to practice that new response and collect evidence that you can handle all of these things. That is how you rewire your brain. That is how you do this. So, when we try to do this alone, it often sounds like the voice in our head saying, I just need to be more disciplined, or I shouldn't need help with this. I've achieved so many things in my life. I should be able to do this on my own, or I already know what I need to do. Or my favorite, I'm going to start when things calm down. And being supported through this sounds a lot different. It sounds like, here's the event that I'm worried about. Let's break it down. It sounds like, here's what my brain keeps telling me. Or this is what always happens. Here's what usually happens when I do this. Or help me decide how I want to handle it before I'm standing there with a glass of wine being offered to me. This is the difference. And this is the real life day-to-day work that we do together inside Feel Good AF, where we break down all of the different layers and areas of where alcohol touches your life. And we don't wait for your life to become alcohol-free friendly. We help you become the version of you, the woman who knows how to navigate her real life without continually returning to the same cycle. Okay, I really want you to think about how you feel right now. And when you look at the rest of your summer, like in this moment, how are you feeling? And maybe there's a bit of excitement, but maybe there's also some dread. You're already wondering how much you're going to drink, whether you'll keep your promises, and whether September is going to arrive with you having the exact same conversation with yourself. And now consider how the rest of this summer could feel if I were walking beside you through it. If I was holding your hand, understand, if you had me to talk to break down every single piece, if you had somewhere to bring the uncomfortable thoughts before they became another drinking night, and if you knew how to prepare for the dinner, the trip, the stressful Tuesday, and that moment that someone says, come on, just have one. It's summer. It's Friday. It's nice. You're on vacation. You need a plan for that. The only thing you need to consider is how differently you might feel with support while you practice all of this. And you don't have to put quitting drinking on hold so that you can have this life that you want. So if this feels like a good step for you, I want you to book a discovery call with me. The link is always in the show notes, or you can send me an email at info@lindsayhenneke.com and we can chat about working together and what it would look like in your life, because I am always going to meet you exactly where you're at in your journey. Okay, I'm so glad that you listened this week, and I hope that you're having an amazing summer so far, but don't let it stop you from getting everything that you want. Thank you for listening to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast. If this episode landed for you, it would mean a lot if you left a review or take a quick screenshot of it and share it on social media. That's how this show reaches more women who are ready to stop living in the drinking loop and start leading themselves with confidence again. I'm on a mission to change the way high-achieving women think about alcohol, because you don't need more willpower or more rules around your drinking. You need real support, real tools, and the truth about what's actually possible for you. So keep showing up for yourself, keep telling the truth about what you want. And remember, the life you want isn't found in a glass or a bottle of wine. It's built in the decisions that you can stand behind, the ones that you feel really good about. My DMs are always open, and I can't wait to get to know you better. I will see you next week in the next episode.